Today, I'm going to tell you about 5 common mistakes that I see watercolor students making. If you can eliminate even one of these, you'll see a big improvement in your paintings. The first problem that I see a lot of students making is they are using too much of the same color. Variety is the spice of life, and variety is what makes your paintings sing. So if you're mixing up a large puddle of one color and using it all over your painting, that is going to dull your work, and you are missing out on some great opportunities for variety. Even if I'm painting the sky, I try to mix in a little bit different shades of blue. If there's a large area of green grass or hills that have green, I try to use a variety of colors of green. I've noticed if I see students just using one color for a large part of their painting, the painting becomes boring and monotonous. So when you are mixing your colors, mix up a variety of colors. One of the most beautiful parts about watercolor is the mixing that can happen on the paper. This beautiful transition between colors on the wet surface. It's very unique to this medium. So let's take advantage of that. Use a variety of colors and let those colors blend on the paper. A lot of times I see paintings from students that don't have a full range of values. It's one of the main things I talk about. One of the things that holds students back is they aren't mixing up rich enough mixtures on their palette. They're really good at mixing the light values that require more of a watery consistency. But when they get into the middle values and the darks, they're not mixing up a rich mixture of paint. And part of that problem is they're not spraying down the paint on their palette and able to get that rich mixture because that paint is not activated and ready to go. Another problem that I'm seeing that students do is they pick too difficult of subjects. Imagine a musician that is just starting out. They decide that they want to play a really difficult piece of music. Well, the instructor might say, okay, we'll get there eventually, but that's not what you should be playing right now when you get started. And one of the hallmarks of a difficult subject is a lot of positive and negative shapes that are intermingled on a scene. So this could be a really complicated reflection on the water where there's lights and darks just all intermingled. A lovely field of wildflowers where they have to paint around little areas of color as they work through their scene from light to dark. Or they'll pick a complicated scene with a lot of architecture and people and cars and difficult perspective. It's not to say that we can't challenge ourselves and take on difficult subjects. I do think that early on, before you are understanding the fundamentals, before you've had the experience with perspective and drawing, pick something simple with simple shapes and start there first. If you're picking simpler subjects and you are painting small and painting often, that is where you'll see the most progress. Another common problem that I see in students' paintings is they use too many darks. If you think about a good painting as a song, well, the crescendo, the most important part of the song, the climax of the music, is a very important part. In painting, the darks are the final frontier. The darks are that crescendo, that bit of extra focus and attention. They are the peak of the painting. And if we are using our darkest darks all over the scene, in the background of the painting, in the middle ground, in the foreground, we've emphasized every part of the painting rather than where we want to keep the viewer's attention. I suggest that when you are painting your scenes, and if you're following the approach that I recommend, where you're painting the light values, the middle value shapes, and you're holding off on the darks and the details, save those darks and details for that main area of interest in your scene. Start there first. Start in that focal area and get that part of the painting how you want it to look. And then you can use a little bit of darks and details around the rest of the scene. So if you can show some restraint in the darks in your scene and use them strategically, you can make much more polished and focused paintings. And finally, a typical problem that I see with students is they are rushing the process. I've been talking today about having a methodical approach to painting where you work through the light values, the middle values, and the darks. But what I see a lot of students do, and what I did early on when I was learning this approach, is that I wanted my scene to look like something right away. When I was painting, I would get sucked into the details in a particular area of the scene, and I would go and I would paint those first, instead of thinking about the values, the large shapes of the scene, and then focusing the painting. When you sit down and paint, don't be in a rush to make your painting look like something. Joseph Zbukvich talks about how the darks and the details are the jewelry of the scene. They get all the credit, but the real heavy lifting in your scene is done by the values and the large shapes. So get in tune with those values and the large shapes of the scene. Work your way methodically through the process and don't rush through this. If you can stay true to that approach, you'll be much happier with your finished paintings. And I hope there's one thing in here that you can put your finger on and say, I'm going to try that a little differently next time, and I hope that you see great results in your paintings. Next week, I'm going to be talking about my drawing process. I'm going to break things down in a very fundamental way and talk to you about my process of creating the drawing for my paintings. So be sure and tune in for that next week. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. I come out with a new video every single Monday. If you are looking for a resource that can help you today, take a look at this. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone. You could print it out. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.